Bonnie, I want to take a moment to be on Facebook Live right now with you because we have new information about episode 9, still untitled, but we have the cast and the start date for shooting for episode 9. So I wanted to jump on here real quick and let you know what we have just learned. Coming out today, Lucasfilm has confirmed the cast of episode 9, new and returning cast members. Also, we know that shooting will begin in London's at London's Pinewood Studios August 1st of 2018. So this is huge news because a lot of us were wondering when. We figured that would happen late this summer for them to make that December 2019 release. And so excited to share that returning cast members include Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Lupita Nyong'o, Domhnall Gleeson, Kelly Marie Tran will return for episode 9. So glad to see that Kelly will return. Joonas Suotamo, who is Chewie now, and then Billie Lourd will be returning as well. We have new characters, Naomi, Ackie, and Richard E. Grant will be coming in to enhance this cast for the grand finale that is episode 9 of the Star Wars, the Skywalker saga. So really excited about this. But here's confirmations that we're really excited about, at least I am. And keep in mind, tonight we're recording episode 42 of Beyond the Blast Doors. So David, Jesse, and I will be going into this a lot more in depth. But we have confirmation. Mark Hamill's coming back to be Luke Skywalker. We have Billy Dee Williams for the first time confirmed by Lucasfilm that he will be Lando Calrissian in episode 9. I'm over the moon right now. And we also know that Anthony Daniels will be back to play C-3PO. And I mentioned Anthony Daniels. It was really funny. I was watching a clip the other day with Mark Hamill, and he called Anthony Daniels Tony, which I guess that makes sense, right? Because Tony is short for Anthony, but I had never heard that before. Now, it gets a little bit more interesting. So again, what we've already confirmed, if you're just joining me now, is we've confirmed that August 1st, 2018, episode 9, the final installment of the Skywalker saga, will be August 1st at Pinewood Studios. J.J. Abrams is returning. He co-wrote that screenplay with Chris Terrio. We have a slew of returning characters and cast members. We have a few new additions. We have Luke returning and Billy Dee Williams returning to play Lando. I'm so excited. Leia was the big question in the air. How are they going to handle Leia in episode 9? We found a way to do it. Well, I say we. I really mean they. Lucasfilm, JJ, Chris, in that writing process, there turns out to be a lot or enough of pre-shot video of Carrie Fisher from episode 7, The Force Awakens. And so they are going to be using previously unreleased footage shot for The Force Awakens to bring Leia Organa on screen for episode 9. I want to make sure that I'm giving a shout out to everyone in the chat. It looks like we have John in here, we have Star Raptor in here, White Nova is with us. I got to say hi to John and White Nova just for being on here as fans of the channel, also proud Patreon supporters. Great to have Star Raptor on here. He does a great job keeping up to date with all the canon stuff. I want to go through some comments here that I'm a little late on. White Nova is saying, glad Lando is back, not sure about Richard E. Grant. We have absolutely, they had to bring back Mark. They had to bring, well, we as fans feel they need to bring back Luke Skywalker for episode 9. No matter your views on The Last Jedi, you can't do episode 9, the final installment of the Skywalker saga, without Mark Hamill, because he's with us. And it only makes sense to have him in that role. And yes, he has kind of transitioned to be the new old Ben. But it would have been, there's certain things that you just can't do in Star Wars because it would just divide the fan base, maybe even more so than we've already seen. One of those things would be not having Mark Hamill reprise his role of Luke Skywalker in this final installment. He has to show up as a Force ghost, or maybe he appears in a flashback, or something else happens. We're not quite sure. It's understood that there is going to be a time jump for this movie, but a time jump, A time jump can mean so many things. We can go into the future, he's there as a Force ghost. We can jump to the future, maybe he's a Force ghost, and somehow there's a Force vision, and we see something that Luke did in the past, something kind of reminiscent of what we got in The Last Jedi. So it's all kind of up in the air, but just really excited. We wanted to share all this information with you guys. Let's start here. And I also want to mention that John Williams will be back to be the composer for Episode 9, which, how awesome is that? It's incredible that we were able to get Carrie, Harrison, and Mark back to do the sequel trilogy in their own roles, right? But to also have John composing that whole narrative, 4, 5, and 6, going back to do 1, 2, and 3. Now, we pray that he's able to close out 9 and 7, 8, and 9. This man is closing in on like 90, 91, So it's like honestly, it just could not have been better for Disney to get the franchise when they did. Or maybe the better way of saying that is there's no better time to revisit. The longer you wait, the more risk we have. And of course, we learned that with the tragic passing of Carrie Fisher. Want to say hi to everyone that is with us in the live chat. Want to say say hi. Thanks for giving us those thumbs up. If you haven't hit that thumbs up button already, please go ahead and do so. I am going to go ahead and pull up the live feed on here because I want to make sure that I don't miss anyone's comments. Star Raptor says he's pumped about Mark, and I think you should absolutely be excited for Mark because there was so much controversy following The Last Jedi. I mean, I remember going back and watching that live stream, and there was an interview with Rian Johnson and Mark Hamill, and this face of distraught. And all the controversy started to happen. All the rumors started to break. He didn't know the ending of the movie, or he didn't agree. How many times have we heard the clip about, Mark Hamill fundamentally disagrees with what Rian Johnson did with the character of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi? Of course, you continue listening. Mark Hamill says he came around. Whether you believe that or not, it's up to you. It's so important that you have Luke present in Episode 9. Really excited to see how he continues to teach Rey because, despite his devotion to the Jedi text that we see in The Last Jedi, Luke clearly learned a lot. We saw a few brief moments in the Last Jedi where he used the Force to a level that we haven't seen, which is exciting. And what is he able to teach Rey as the Force goes? And also the question is, will he sit down on a log? Because that seems to be like a Vegas bet right now. And if it's not a Vegas bet right now, it definitely should be, because he's got to sit on a log, right? He's got to do like old Ben. Let me see what else we have going on here. So yeah, Star Raptor, I'm right there with you. So excited to have Mark Hamill confirmed back in The Last Jedi. And he's been dodging it too. I mean, just last week he was asked on the red carpet, is he going to be in Episode 9? And he said, I don't know. I'm kind of always the last one to find out. Well, glad to know that Mark Hamill is in. I have a feeling that he's known for some time. White Nova, they should recast and complete the Leia story they had planned. Nova, I can respect that. I think back to Rogue One, and I think I'm in the minority, but I think if you have someone that can do the voice of Leia, if you can do Carrie's voice, I kind of was okay with the CGI. I thought the Tarkin especially was convincing enough to where you could have done it as a tribute. We will not have anyone else play Leia. Carrie Fisher is Leia. Now the argument to that is Meryl Streep. A story that we shared, this was a couple of months ago, and I mean it really set off a lot of people, was having Meryl Streep come in and play Leia. And I think a lot of people, it's so hard to see or envision anyone in that role. Because when you look at that character, you're not going to see Leia immediately. You're going to think, oh, that's Meryl. It's not Leia. And so it's, what's the cliche? 50% here and a half dozen the other. There's so many ways to do this wrong. And with fans, there's probably only one way to do it right. If they feel, and when I say they, I mean J.J. Abrams, Chris Terrio, Lucasfilm, the storytelling group, if they feel they have enough of this extra footage from The Force Awakens to convincingly finish out this last installment of the saga, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt right now, and we'll see how they pull it off. I can't imagine it's a large role. There can't be that much video left, and also, just the verbiage. I mean, just the script. I mean, how does that work with what this story needs to be? How could they have possibly known lines, 3-4 years ago that would work for this episode 9? There's no way. There's no way for several reasons, and the main thing is the script wasn't written until a couple of months ago. There was no overall plan for this saga, other than we wanted to let Leia live all 3 movies. So, whatever you think of that, more power to you. It would be an honor to her memory more to see the final part of the story told to the full. I agree with that, White Nova, and I think that's why they're bringing this footage of Leia, of Carrie Fisher from 7 to 9, is because they think this is the best way to honor Leia. John says, for real, John Williams can make a video of paint drying incredible. Yeah, I feel like with paint, John, he would use a lot of strings. He would really rely on the strings, maybe the woodwinds a little bit, but very little brass. I think it would be woodwinds and the strings. Keep it subtle. Star Raptor says, it's important to note that press release for the casting announcement states that it's the final chapter of the Skywalker saga. Hence, I do not think we will have episodes 10, 11, and 12. Star Raptor, you're still with me. I want to hear you weigh in on this. Maybe not at 10, 11, and 12. I don't think we will get any more Roman numeral movies because I think that's like synonymous with the saga. And so I don't think we'll get episodes 10, 11, and 12. But we're going to get another trilogy. I think the trilogy format really works well for the Star Wars stories in theaters. Whether that's Rian Johnson's trilogy. Here's my thing. Is Rian's trilogy even going to happen still? There's a lot of people out there, and I'm kind of in the mentality that I don't think this is a good time. I think that Rian's trilogy probably should be a thing, an idea of the past. That's just me. Then again, 3 weeks ago, we got the story that he's still working on that script. This is the end of the Skywalker saga. We've known that for quite some time. Even George Lucas was talking about how back in the 70s, when he was doing the original trilogy, he had this story, and he took this much, and he was going to make 4, 5, and 6, and he had to go back and create the history. How did Anakin fall from grace, and his mother, and how all that hooked up, how Obi-Wan came into the mix. And then he had an idea for what the future would be. And in the recent weeks, we've learned what George wanted to really do with that sequel trilogy. He wanted to do something focusing on the Guardian of the Whills, and more importantly, just like the Whills and how the Force works, and diving into that more, which would have enhanced the lore, which I would have been fine with. What we see in movies now, and I think this is something you have to keep in mind when we're watching The Last Jedi, is the fact that we've had 6 seasons of Clone Wars. You've had 4 seasons of Star Wars Rebels. We've seen things done with the Force and in Star Wars that we didn't see on the big screen, and that is expanding the rules of what can happen in that galaxy. And I think that what George kind of envisioned for his sequel trilogy probably would have been spectacular. I think there have been some people who didn't like it. I still think that if he sold to Disney, the rule would have been he gets to co-write 7, 8, 9, whoever they want can direct. But I wish it would still have been George's stories. That said, that's not what we have. No problem. Moving on. Yes, we won't get in episodes 10, 11, and 12. Skywalker Saga is kaput. But we will have a series of movies or trilogies in the future, I'm sure, with familiar characters and new stories. I think you do episode 9, and I think that's as far into the future in the Star Wars timeline you go for a very long time. I think it's time to dive into that time period, maybe in between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. I think the best decision, let's go back to the Old Republic. Let's tell all those stories. Let's go back 1,000, 2,000 years ago when there was just a lot of lightsabers on the battlefield, and it was fun space adventures, and you had crazy smugglers, and you kind of can bring back that nostalgic feel of the original trilogy, but with all new characters. Something the new Star Wars desperately lacks, and I think this is universally accepted, lacks lightsabers. And the lightsabers that do ignite, they spark now, which I don't understand, but the battles aren't that intense. I think the best little lightsaber duel that we got was in Force Awakens with Kylo and Rey in the woods, and that was a half-wounded Kylo and a Rey that was just somehow tapping into all of her powers, kind of overwhelmed by how well she was tapping into those powers. So we'll see. But that's what I'd like to see. Is I don't want a 10, 11, 12. I don't need to know what's next. Let's go back to that Old Republic era, the Knights of the Old Republic. We got a few more people joining us. Taylor K64 joins us. I want to say thank you to Taylor for checking in with us here at Beyond the Blast Doors. And just a reminder, everyone, episode 42, we will be recording that tonight, July 27th. We'll record at about 10:30, 11 o'clock tonight. And we'll have that episode on as soon as possible. With the news breaking today, we had a full agenda already. We were talking about the Clone Wars revival that got announced at San Diego Comic-Con, all the new books and comics, because you have Claudia Gray's Master and Apprentice book that has been confirmed, a Qui-Gon Obi-Wan story, and Claudia Gray is definitely by far my favorite author of Star Wars stories, especially in this Disney era. We also have from Tales from Darth Vader's Castle, a comic book series that's coming out that should have some canon stuff into it, but it kind of seems like it's aimed at a younger audience. Maybe I just misunderstand that, but that's kind of the vibe I get. We're also getting a Padme novel. So we're going to be talking information from San Diego Comic-Con. I think now that we have Mark Hamill confirmed to be returning, we have it confirmed that Luke is going to be in this movie. We need to talk about his role. How much is he going to be really involved? Because last week we were saying he could be in there for 5 minutes, and I kind of think he's going to be in there for like a half hour, 40 minutes of it. I think he's going to be a really big part of episode 9. And then we got to talk more Billy. Because we've had all these reports, all these rumors of Billy Dee Williams being in the show, or in the episode, but we never had any confirmation from Lucasfilm. So really excited to talk about all of that. John, it's the end of the Skywalkers, not necessarily the end of new characters. 10, 11, 12 should be the Reylo saga? No. John, I don't. If you want that, John, you can have that, John. I personally don't need a Reylo saga. I think that there could be a continuation story after episode 9. I think Daisy Ridley wants to go off and do something different. I think she signed up for 7, 8, and 9, and I think she's going to want to do her own thing for a while. Maybe she comes back to the saga, in 20 years, 30 years, kind of like how Carrie, Mark, and Harrison did it. And I think the same thing goes for Adam Driver. I mean, that said, Adam Driver is the best part of the sequel trilogy. I don't think you can deny that. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Reylo theory. I think that we've seen that before. We've seen redemption. We've seen Anakin get redeemed, brought back to the light. I think Kylo needs to stay bad. But I like that. And you're free to think what you want, because that's the fun of Star Wars. Taylor Kate says, I wonder if Lando is someone who heard the distress signal at the end of The Last Jedi, and what if he arms the Resistance with weapons, vehicles, and resources? That would be really cool. From my understanding, Lando has like that droid facility. I believe we learned that in the Aftermath trilogy, Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy of books. I believe that's where we learned that. And so, yeah, that would be really interesting. His role back. I think it would be easy to bring back Lando that way because, they sent out the call. It's a big galaxy. They just didn't get there in time. I want you to read the previous and the new issues of the Poe Dameron comic book issue, okay, of the comic book run. The series is going to end, I think, on issue 31 here in September. So it's coming to an end really quick. There is an explanation for the distress call and why people did not answer. Something I want you to check into, and I think you'll get a lot of answers there. There'll be some clarity there. What do we else we have here? White Nova, that's a good shout. White Nova also. We had a slight interruption there, but just making sure I go through all the comments here, and I got everybody. White Nova, yes, we'll check out your video. Ms. P is on here. John's family is revolting. That's funny. I'm pretty sure they're married. Okay, cool. So I'm all caught up with the comments now, and I'm just going to go back here. We're going to wrap this all up because I've been on for about 20 minutes now. So I just want to say thank you so much for checking out this video, and let me know what you think. If you're catching this video on the rewind, what do you think about the announcement of our returning cast members, our new cast members, the confirmation of John Williams? Of course, I think that the big things here is we've confirmed that Luke is back. Lando is officially in. Carrie Fisher will be in with that previous footage. And shooting starts August 1st of this year. It's the beginning of the end. It really is. It's the beginning of the end to the Skywalker saga, episodes 1 through 9. Whatever you think, that's the whole arc. And I think it's gonna be really fun it's gonna be really fun, and it's gonna be very emotional, obviously, to see this movie in theaters because, like I said, it's the beginning of the end. So if you are catching on this on the rewind, I need you to comment down below. Tell me what you think. Share this with your friends. Let's have a Star Wars conversation. Episode 42 records tonight, 10 p.m. Central Time. We'll have that episode up Saturday afternoon by 4 p.m. for you to watch, for you to comment, for you to share. And folks, I'm so excited about this information. We're going to have a lot of fun when we get to get even more information. Those first images from the set leak, it's going to be awesome. All right, that's going to do it. Star Wars Episode 9, it's going to shoot in about a week. We got cast announced. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'll see you guys soon.